to speak. Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred shouts.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred!
Welcome to episode 446 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Friday, May 10th, 2024 in the evening. Coming to you from Omegon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. As always, thank you for your reviews. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So we're actually going to just do a quick note at the beginning of the show this time before we get into our Life and Ladder. May sort of naturally flow into our Life and Ladder, honestly. But we received some fair criticism, feedback regarding our discussion on agency in the last episode. Admittedly, I will say I was coming into that recording fresh off of listening to VS. And so I was coming in hot and like not feeling great with the way that things were described about agency on that show. And that felt a little bit echo chambery. And then we were kind of a little bit echo chambery back. And I had thought that being abstract about like the discourse would be the better way to go. Not trying, get anyone upset or anything. But I think what that ended up actually doing was just if people didn't know what was going on, then they just hadn't heard the other side of the argument at all and like what was being said and things. And then so if they were feeling some of those things, they just sort of felt invalidated without having gotten, that sort of side of things. And I think in general, sometimes when we do all agree on a thing, we maybe belabor the point a little bit. And largely, I was just feeling like this was a patch that was done for a perceived future health of the game, but everyone is living in the now. And I felt like there wasn't an understanding of the purpose of the patch. And also I get that it feels bad to if you were liking the previous meta and then you have this massive patch that changes a whole bunch of stuff, it's really tough. And I don't want to reiterate a bunch of the points that we went over last time, but if you are looking for sort of the ideas that I kind of was responding to in bringing up the topic, definitely go listen to that episode of the VS. Now, it was interesting to then hear the next episode where they talk about, well, there is this counter to the Highlander Warlock. Now, just having a counter doesn't make everything all better. I expect some kind of balance is happening to Warrior when we get our next patch. But it's not like we're loving everything about this patch either. It's just, I feel like the blow is softened because at least I personally don't like getting nature shamaned on turn, 6 and 7 pretty regularly. And I feel like they did eliminate a lot of the early non-games, but there was no way that they were going to be able to eliminate all kinds of non-games. And people's definitions of non-games, I'm sure, and agency are quite variable. I don't know if you two want to add anything in real quick before we dive into Life and Ladder.
I guess two things just on like the way that I think we see the show and also that kind of helps frame this too. Like, first of all, we didn't say what we felt was the common complaint about the meta because we felt like it was obvious and it wasn't obvious. And we should have been a little bit more upfront to even just say like, those are the things that people are saying to get that out of the way, to talk about what we were responding to. And so that could make it feel a little bit more one-sided. And also like and maybe this is going to make some people, this is the kind of thing that could make some people say like, oh, you're acting like a shill. I'm not saying that we are, but like, I feel like the reason that people listen to the show is because they're trying to improve at the game and they're trying to find ways to have fun with the game as it is. And if we just spend an episode saying, well, this meta sucks and everything is awful, regardless of how we feel. And by the way, I am in that camp at this point. I will own up to that. And I've been very tilted and not playing as much off stream as I normally would because of that. But regardless, right, like that doesn't help anybody. And that's not really fun to listen to. Right. So like, I feel like even when the meta is suboptimal, it's kind of our job to try to find the fun in it or try to find the ways to engage with it. And so that's where it was kind of coming from a perspective of, well, if you understand, if we try to understand why a thing that we don't like is happening, maybe we can accept it more. And then here are some things to do. But we didn't really do a good enough job of expressing the things that people are feeling and also expressing that those things are valid. To not like the meta that we are currently in, or to dislike and to feel like maybe it was better before. If the play style that you like is something that blows people out early, that is something that some people enjoy, and it's valid to feel like that was taken away. And then what we were left with is, it can be, you can very honestly feel that this meta right now is not great, but also that this is a temporary thing that's intended to make things better long-term rather than going from broken meta to broken meta and then having to chase whatever the broken thing is. Ideally, that was what we were trying to convey. But I think we may have not quite stuck the landing last week.
And I will say in terms, I think one thing we were trying to do is have at least our sort of consistent definition of player agency. I will say, I know that there's criticism of this patch in terms of like, well, the meta right now, it's, for pretty much anybody's definition of agency, there's something to critique, and it was never going to be perfect, but it's also completely valid to feel like this is exhausting, that we're getting so many changes. I don't know exactly if they were going to do a patch like this, they should have done a patch like this, but it is true that it felt like, oh my gosh, another thing in certain ways. And even though they will address most likely Warrior, we have to wait a bit for that, and then we have the mini set, and then things change again. Other thing that I will say, for people who are maybe not so sold on the philosophy of seeming to equate bringing down the power level with increasing player agency, as somebody who tends to like powerful decks, I think I agree with, if it wasn't for also the fact that like, it might be that given where the 4-set meta was, they'd have to kind of like totally adjust what was coming after for it to see play, and then that might get ridiculous, and so we have to change it now. That doesn't necessarily help us in the short term, though. And I also, one place where I do agree with VS is that like the skill differential of a deck and does not necessarily go up with a lower power level for the game. If anything, it might be the opposite. I think that's a little different than player agency, but I also, if that's the kind of deck that you really enjoy, is that like really high skill cap combo, hard to execute deck, then I can understand being frustrated.
Yeah.
And that is a valid type of deck to like. So
I think Pocket was very sad until he discovered this new rogue that only he can play. That literally no one else can play.
There is a guide from TikTok that I have linked in the show notes. I have not tried this because I am neither TikTok nor Pocket.
I did. I went like 07 and it was like, there's no shot.
I was one of those O's, by the way. I mean,
that's
even
right.
talk about because we played. I mean, I guess this kind of leading us into Life and Ladder, but like right after the show, we both queued up a game, and then I queued right into Edel, who was playing that deck, and she did the thing, and I still won the game.
No, because clearly I didn't do the thing, because you're supposed to win that turn if you do the thing. I did a whole lot of nonsense and then was like, oh, shoot. I screwed up and I died. So, yeah.
This is the Sonya Deadly Poison deck, by the way. Just so that we're because if people don't know what deck we're talking about, that's the deck where you play Sonya, you play Valera's Gifts. Valera's Gift gives you Deadly Poison, then copies of Deadly Poison, and you get copies of the Valera's Gift, etc., etc. And you're supposed to just like punch your opponent in the face for 30, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Very specifically, like there's just so many knobs to manage, right? You need to obviously not die. You need to draw the appropriate minions. There's a setup turn where you get, like, you cover artist a Sonya, but the cover artist is reduced to 1 cost. So you get a 0 cost Sonya in your hand, and then you play Breakdance to bring the other 2 back. I can't even describe it. There's so many steps. And basically, it just means that you have the setup turn so that the following turn you have 3 Sonyas. And you need to have enough hand space available so that when you start doing the thing and playing the Valera's Gifts, you know, you go gift, you get the poisons, you play all the poisons, then you play all your copies of the gift. It's ridiculous. And don't play this deck. it's so unless you want to spend like 50 to 100 games just losing and like getting your reps in, right? Just like practicing. This is like where you need a simulator, like the topsy-turvy decks of old, right? It's that level of ridiculous.
Pocket had a tweet where he managed to get a lethal. He like didn't have enough damage, but then he used Gear Shift to put a 0 cost Valera's Gift back in the deck so he could redraw it at 1 so that he could get more copies with Sonya. And like managed to do all this before the turn timer and had exact lethal.
It's absurd. And I'm happy for Pocket, and I hope no one else figures out how to play this deck over a 50% win rate, because this would fall into the not so much player agency for the opponent, because you try and kill them on like 7 or 8. You know, largely, I think I do feel like they were successful with their hits, but there's always going to be more to pop up. And the big thing is, if we were having these types of decks in 4 set, what does that mean for our 5 set and 6 set? How close to Yu-Gi-Oh are we going to get? And I really don't want to be anywhere near Yu-Gi-Oh, to be quite honest. For those who are unaware, Yu-Gi-Oh has turn 1 OTKs. Like, it's like Charbelcher in Magic, in Legacy, right? These things where it's just, oh, I got the right hand. You don't even have a turn yet. You're dead now. Okay, next game. Obviously, Hearthstone's never going to be that level. It's not going to happen. But, you know, not fun losing on turn 6 if you can't do much to engage with it. But I think we started going into sort of our life and ladder with that game. I think we can just sort of transition fully into that area. For me, obviously I did terribly with, I actually can't say the name of this rogue on the podcast because it is a swear.
It rhymes with ship rogue.
Yeah.
So rogue.
That was terrible. And then I tried some of the other things that were on that spreadsheet that Megisa so kindly, or spreadsheet, I guess donkey link that Megisa so kindly put together. And I really enjoyed the shaman there. I forget who I have to thank for that shaman, but it's a lot of fun. And I think it's going to get better with the mini set in a very exciting ways. It's just kind of good shaman, like very different from the former good shaman of several years ago, but you've got cards with synergy, and you just go for maximum tempo and take advantage of overload. I think it'll be all the more essential to run double overdraft with the mini set because of a certain large frog. There's a lot of frogs in the deck as well, so maybe there's a name to
Frog Shaman.
Frogger Shaman.
It looks like this particular list came from Gray Pirate HS.
Well, thank you,
the
Gray Pirate HS, because it was a roaring good time. And really the only thing I've liked playing recently. Besides, well, first I was playing Bloodstained, and then Hat told me that Hades is out in early access, and I kind of haven't been able to play anything but Hades since. Hades 2, to be clear. It's absurd. It's so good.
It's probably going to make me get a Steam Deck. Because I still don't own a PC or a thing that can play PC games, but I really want to play this game.
It definitely was like the deal breaker for my brother of like, okay, let me just order a Steam Deck, because he was like, he wanted a Baldur's Gate machine, and now with this out, he's like, yeah, okay, I need to get a Steam Deck. So very good.
And a Steam
Highly
Deck is the
recommend.
only way
you
that
might
I
not
can
play
play
the
it.
miniset though. if you get Hades 2, it's gonna be a struggle.
The Steam Deck is the only way I can play it, by putting it into airplane mode, because otherwise my oldest daughter is playing it constantly. And we can't both play the game at the same time with it being in the family library.
Yeah.
And I had a fairly intense training course through work that was like, had me going off site for 3 days, like staying in a hotel by the place. And like, I left Tuesday morning, which is the day after Hades 2 came out. And my oldest said, oh yeah, Hades 2 is out. I said, yeah, I know, we bought it. You can play it. She's like, oh yeah, I've already played. I've already beaten the first boss. And I said, I'm leaving now.
What am I going to do when Leah starts being better than me at FromSoft games?
You're going to start looking at funeral plots. That's what you're going to do. That's my plan.
Kid reaction times are just impossible to keep up. It's very unfair.
I'm going to be like 40 too.
It's both the kid reaction times and unlimited time to practice.
Yes.
Like when you don't have a day job and you get home from school at 2, and you have a lot of time to grind through Erebus. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I have not gotten to play Hades 2 as much as I would have liked because of that training class. It was very good, but it was extremely intense. It was like 9 a.m. to 8, after 8, both of the first 2 days, and then like 9 to like 4, and then I had to drive 2.5 hours to get home after that. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to play anything substantial, and my not liking this meta has not been helping. I will tell you that much, because I play a couple games and I get tilted and I close the client. I finally found something today. I've been trying like everything except for Highlander Warrior, because even winning would tilt me with Highlander Warrior with how much I hate the mirror. But I was trying a whole bunch of things and nothing was really working. And then I found there's a charge hand buff paladin that I found today that runs it runs both Leroy and double deckhand, and it runs what's the card? There's like a 1-drop that gives your weapon +1 durability, like audio tech or something like that, in addition to the instrument tech. So it's just like going all in on everything, and that's been working more than it hasn't been. I was playing that a little bit before the show, and that's been working a little bit better. But my big news is that I finally played Commander for the first time, and that was
all right.
That was a lot of fun, because Free Comic Book Day was Saturday, and so there's a comic book game shop near my house that was doing 25% off everything, including precons, the Commander precons. So I bought the Stella Lee Wildcard precon, which is red blue, and it so she's got like, when you play your second spell in a turn, it exiles a card, and then you can play into the beginning of your next turn. And then if you cast 3 or more spells, you can tap her to copy a spell that's on the stack. So it turns into like Miracle Rogue is basically what happens. You just keep playing spells and then copying them, and then there's spells that copy all this. There's like we'll copy all the spells in your graveyard and recast them, and eventually, and then you have things that happen whenever you play spells that make creatures or do damage to all your opponents. And I ended up just building up this army of like these 1/1 dorks. And then I had found I got a spell that let you discard your hand and draw 4 cards, and then give your minions +1, or your creatures, it's magic, +1 attack for every card that you've discarded that way. And I had a way to copy it. And so just said, okay, all my dudes are 7-1 now. Who's still alive? And then the game ended. So it was fun, and I had a really good time, and now I've got a shopping. This is an expensive good time now, because now I have a shopping list for when I go back to the store for things that I want to improve in the deck. But yeah,
in case you were thinking Hearthstone was expensive,
yeah,
you try Magic.
There's a reason I ended up with like 2K store credit selling my EDH decks.
Yeah, I can see it. But I also got to actually pull some of my old ancient cards from high school out of storage. So, and I found some, like, there is a card that I have had since like my original Magic starter deck that I've never played. I think I put it in decks and never really knew what the hell to do with it, called Fork, which just copies a spell. And that seems like it'll work in this deck. So I finally get to use it for its intended purpose instead of just like playing and then probably doing something stupid. I did enjoy that. So that's been a fun, new special interest. What about you, Megasa?
Well, I haven't played a ton this week. I am interested in that Handbuff Paladin. World 8 had a list that was similar to what it sounds like you found, that I've linked at the bottom of the show notes. I can move it up. That Sunkyu actually got rank 1 with, and Banter was playing at rank 13, it looks like. So pretty successful there, and I definitely want to give that a try, and we'll talk more. We'll probably mention Paladin a little bit more later. But in the meantime, I played a couple of Heroic Tavern Balls with Zaremi Priest. I did pretty well on the first one, pretty terribly on the second one. Lost my first game, which should have helped, but at this point it was near the end of the Tavern Brawl, so it's like only sharks remaining. Like if you play the Heroic Tavern Brawl at the beginning and you lose your first game, you end up feeling bad because you end up feeling guilty because you queue into people playing core cards and you just crush them because they also lost their first game. But if you play later, it's all sharks all the way down. So lost my first game due to just like only drawing my top end cards somehow. Like the first 6 cards were at the top of the deck. So that didn't work out. And then I got tilted enough. I should have stopped playing after losing my next game. I won a couple, but then I was facing an Insanity Warlock. I knew it was an Insanity Warlock, and I didn't plan ahead for the 3/3s that came out. And I could have had a fly off the shelves for it, because I've been playing one fly off the shelves in Zaremi Priest, because it's good against like Paladin. But I totally forgot to save it for that, and I'm like, all right, this is on me. I deserve to to lose this one. It was like the very turn after I played it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why we saved that. So, but Zaremi Priest remains good. Climbed some with that, and there's definitely other decks that I'm excited to try, especially after the mini set. So in the meantime, just continuing to refine my boarding school for Sims, and also, more than anything, work has definitely picked up. AP tests are happening now, and the school where I teach is self-paced, but people want to finish before summer, so they don't have summer school. Mm-hmm. So several students are feeling the crunch to try to finish. I think almost all of them will finish. So early coin concede to my students who are really pulling it out, but that definitely makes there a little bit less time for Hearthstone, especially when we were seeing even more warriors. I was not thrilled about seeing so many warriors. So
I hardly see any anymore. The warlocks have pushed them out.
Yeah. So sorry if you were enjoying the warrior. I mean, it does show like you can never really tell exactly what's going to happen with a meta. Things always shift.
And according to HS Replay, it's still 20% warrior, so at Legend.
Yeah. I'm like not saying they're not there. And I'm guessing like the further you get from like top 1K, the more warriors there are. Wouldn't be surprised, because it's like
yes. Because I have been straying further and further from God's Light, yes, and I have been seeing more and more warriors. So I can confirm that.
You just gotta learn the warlock. Just take him to task.
I tried to learn it, and I felt like my brain was going to. That's what I played on stream either Friday or Monday night, and then I just kind of like it wasn't happening. It was like it felt like it was a lot of work for not enough benefit, and I knew it was a deck that was going to have to put a lot of reps on to be able to figure it out. I just don't enjoy decks like that in general. So unless they're cloning Gallery Priest, then I enjoy them a lot.
I did put a link to a short guide from Micaiah Time on the Insanity Warlock for anyone who's interested. I also can understand, like, with the rate of balance changes we've had, feeling... I know we had some people in Discord expressing this, and I can certainly sympathize, like, having trouble feeling like it's worth it to put the time in to really learn a deck, because it's just going to change. Even a deck like Zarimi Priest, which turned out to basically still be pretty good, because the Zarimi turn is later, but the early blowouts can absolutely still happen. But it still feels like, oh, well, it's on borrowed time. Like, I definitely sympathize with feeling like there's a lot of changes. I'm sure the team is aware that they're simultaneously, they kind of can't win because simultaneously everyone wants a patch now. And also there's too many patches. But I do hope we have, after the mini set, a little bit of a slowdown in patch cadence. And that does make it easier to really dive into a deck. If the Insanity Warlock is still a player after, I might try to learn it because it seems like a deck that I might enjoy. But there's going to be a lot of other stuff going on.
I mean, the thing is, like, mini sets usually don't have huge impacts, and any balance they do is going to be pretty small and focused for this one, I think. So I wouldn't... I mean, who knows? Mini sets have had big shakeups before, but certainly once we sort of settle after 1 or 2 weeks, I don't think there's going to be too much going on until the next big expansion, which will be a while. So,
also something like Insanity Warlock, where it's really preying on a particular deck. If that deck decreases in prevalence, then sometimes that'll hurt that deck's performance.
It's pretty good in general, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Depends on whether people really like playing it or they just like killing warriors.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will find out.
But we should probably talk about said mini set, as there are some exciting things actually for warrior, but not Highlander. So, yeah, pretty sweet stuff.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Yeah, so we did start out the week with the announcement of Dr. Boom's incredible Inventions, which is the mini set that is coming out on May 14th, which is Tuesday. So Dr. Boom's been tinkering away in the basement of Wigsbank's workshop, working on his own line of toys to prove that he's the greatest toy maker and inventor in Azeroth. Come up with something huge, gigantic even, and he's ready to share it with the world. Prepare to have your mind blown. These are Dr. Boom's incredible inventions. It will be available on May 14th. 38 new cards, 4 legendaries, 1 epic, 17 rares, and 16 commons. You'll be able to buy them either in packs or as part of a 72 card set, which you can buy for $14.99 USD or 2,000 gold. There's also going to be an all golden version of the mini set as usual, with which is going to be $69.99 USD or 10,000 gold with a bonus diamond legendary. The main new thing that we are getting in the mini set is a new keyword called Gigantify, which is the opposite of miniaturize. So instead of making a 1 mana 1/1, it makes an 8 mana 8/8. And the example that they give us is Snuggle Teddy, which is a 3 mana 2/4 beast for Druid with Gigantify, Elusive, Lifesteal, and Taunt, which then gives you an 8/8 Snuggle Teddy, which is an 8 mana 8/8 beast with Elusive, Lifesteal. So now instead of making things smaller, we're making them bigger, but then they're also cost 8, so that makes them a little bit more awkward.
These are going to be so good in Arena. Just
yeah,
saying.
Very good in Arena.
Bananas. Just
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even need bananas. You make them big without bananas.
Indeed.
We also have it's not really a mechanic, but more of a cycle of packs. So a pack is kind of like the Elise from Journey to Ongoro, if you remember that far back. It's a 5 temporary cards that you get added to your hand when you play it, and they are of varying rarities, but kind of mirror the rarities that would be in a Hearthstone pack. So mostly commons, typically 1 rare, but you also have the opportunity to get multiple rares or an epic or legendary, or if you're really, been praying to Yogg, then you might get multiple legendaries in the pack. But so there are a few cards in the set in different classes that give you different types of packs that are limited in different ways. That might be interesting.
I almost feel like they shouldn't have referenced Elise as a comparison because they are pretty different, right? Elise, it shuffled into your deck, and then you had to find the pack, and you opened it, and the cards stayed in your hand. They were not temporary.
And they also didn't respect normal pack rarities. You got a lot of epics and legendaries out of those packs.
Yeah. Whereas here, for better or for worse, you're going to get more commons. You'll always get at least one rare. Like it works the same as regular pack rarity. There are some pretty good common beasts and common taunts, like for the warrior one. So in the hunter one wilderness pack, you get 5 beasts. And like Hollow Hound is a common, Tyrannosaurus, Messenger Buzzard, Bunny Stomper. You can also get a Slow Flipper Penguin, which is not good, but is cute and free. So
someone posted how in Wild you can just play the Rogue pack and then play Wild Pawn all for free.
Oh, God. Because the Rogue pack gives you cards from other classes. Yeah, that's disgusting.
Also,
yeah, I almost expected you to pick that for card I'm scared of.
Me? No, that's, yeah. No, they have to pay for the cards. They're not going to.
Just on principle, though. But yeah.
Oh, yes, just stop. I mean, I'm just annoyed that they gave Rogue more cards. They keep doing that. And they need to stop. But, that's neither.
You can Gaslight Gatekeeper the temporary cards, and then if any that you redraw will still discard at the end of that turn, but the ones that go in your deck will lose that debuff after the turn ends. So
true.
Could be a way of like sort of just drawing cards, because if you're just about out and then you're like, play a pack, gatekeeper it, you get 5 other cards. Probably not worth it.
It's like a lot of work though.
Probably not, but it is a thing you can do.
Yeah.
There was a tweet from Cora with a few tidbits about the set that is linked in the show notes. She notes there's one specific art piece in this mini set that is a continuation of the story of an art piece in the main set, and it's kind of messed up. I don't know who wrote the description, but they must have been going through it that day. So my guess is it's the card, I think it's called Scrap Heap or something like that, which has a Noyatron or bot that's like going to the scrap heap, and the flavor text is goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. That is my guess as to the flavor set that she is referencing in that. Apparently the keyword of Gigantify was originally suggested internally as a joke, and then they ran with it. They also considered giving Toyrantis a blank text box for the memes. Not seriously considered, but someone suggested that at some point. But I can totally picture someone being like, and what if we had Gigantify? And then people being like, what if we had Gigantify? So there's some more tips there. Check that out. Leo also said that, oh gosh, what exactly is the name of this card? Buy one, get one freeze was the best card name that he has ever come up with. And that he came up, the effect is freeze a minion, summon a frozen copy of it. It's a mage spell, mage frost spell. And he says, I came up with this effect for my design test for the job, and I have tried multiple times to put it into the real game.
Amazing.
And the flavor text is, that's an ice deal.
Yeah, of course it is. I do actually hope that there's some potential for using that with like Rainbow Mage to combo with Sif, because if we run it as Frost Spell to get discounted by Watercolor Artist, then you potentially have your 0 cost summon a copy thing. I was thinking like maybe we can do a Rainbow Mage rerun double Watercolor Artist and then like 2 Frost Bolts and 2 of these or something. I don't know. I just want that deck to be playable again. It's so tough right now.
Yeah, that was definitely an unfortunate casualty.
Can you get away without running any other frost spells than that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't run that many in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I was doing pretty well for a while, and then my win rate started balancing out, and I was like, okay, I gotta stop playing Mage.
And to remind people, because Watercolor Artist hasn't really seen play, you have to separate the art from the artist. The drawn card will continue to discount even after Watercolor Artist itself dies.
Mhm.
So each turn, discount the frost spell. So you can get it for free. You don't have to worry about protecting the Watercolor Artist to get the buy one, get one freeze for free and then copy your Sif.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if it's frozen because it's Sif. So it can also target enemy minions.
Yeah.
Yep.
For what it's worth.
So we'll talk more about the individual cards in Decksplanations, because that's pretty much all of Decksplanations. But yeah, so that's going to be coming out on Tuesday, and there will be a patch presumably with client bug fixes, and hopefully they'll fix the shop in the Mac client by then. That'll be nice, because I noticed that again when I only had my Mac with me on this training and couldn't get into the shop. And oh yeah, that's a thing again. So that would be nice if they could fix that. But we'll see what happens in that patch. We also got a bot ban update for May 2024. Since their last update, they've actioned nearly 110,000 additional accounts. We'll continue to take action against those abusive tax accounts to make the tavern a fairer and more fun place for all our players. We'll see you in the tavern with the rest of that message. So they're still doing it. They're still trying to keep on top of them. They're not going to give us any more details, because that's how the people who make the bots figure out how to get around the things that stop the bots. So, but they are still on it and still trying to keep down the pest population. Other announcement, it's not, I guess it's news, but it's our news. So, the Concede Listener League, which Megasa has titled Coin Pro Gamer Concede, is going to be taking signups starting this week, Monday or Tuesday, and we are planning to start the series on Monday, May 20th, the Monday following the mini set release. So we're trying to get this to start as early as possible in the cycle, so hopefully we can get through all of the Swiss and then elimination before the next expansion comes out, presumably 2 months, because that's what it ends up being. So we're doing our best. So go sign up if you haven't played before. It's a very casual, fun. Some people bring tier fun decks, some people try hard, but if you are new to competitive Hearthstone, there aren't a whole lot of outlets for it. So it's kind of good experience with getting to build a conquest lineup, and you get to, meet other people in the community, and maybe you end up our next Coin Concede listener series champion.
So if you're interested, come to our Discord if you're not already in there. And it's just one game, one match per week. You set up the timing with your partner, and we have Swiss and then a top 8. And it's a lot of fun. I got into the only competitive Hearthstone that I've played really was this tournament. I won once. But even the times that I didn't win, it was very fun. It was good to get to know people. So, and the Coin Pro Gamer Concede is a reference to a tweet from DeckTech. Thank you, DeckTech. I'm pretty sure you're listening to this, where he said that the new Coin Concede was going to be Coin Pro Gamer Lose Concede, which I honestly we'll mention Pro Gamer later.
Yes.
Actually, we can get around to mentioning him right about now.
All right, so as we are recording this, it is Friday evening, and so the Death Knight and Warlock cards are going to be released tomorrow on Saturday. Probably have already been released by the time you're listening to this. But we're still going to do our usual card superlatives, just without Death Knight and Warlock. There's plenty still to talk about. First, I have been collecting rules clarifications on cards, and this is all confirmed by Hat. So I just wanted to quickly run through in case you were wondering. We already mentioned the new pack cards. Return Policy, which is a new Demon Hunter card. Let me pull it up so I can get the exact card. It's a 3-mana card. Discover a friendly death rattle card you've played this game. Trigger its death rattle. You're triggering the death rattle of the discovered card you just added to your hand. So for example, if you're triggering Glaive Tar, because it could be a weapon, you'll only draw 1. even if the glaive card that you played, you haven't triggered it and it's up to like 5 cards, you won't draw 5 cards, you'll draw 1 card. But you can still do a lot of stuff with this card with like Umpire's Grasp or CCG. Sock Puppet Slither Spear is also a Demon Hunter card. And this one, it's a Slither Spear. It's a 1 mana, 1/3 Naga. It says this minion's attack is improved by your heroes. So that does not include weapon attack. That is only your actual hero's attack. And it's only for while you have that attack. So it resets at the end of the turn.
Yeah, always a 1/3 on opponent's turn, which is kind of a bummer, but...
It's a Slither Spear, it's not a Mana Worm, which is a bummer. But
well, even Vicious Slither Spear keeps it until the following turn. Keeps the attack until
that's
the following
true.
turn.
So it is only a sock puppet of a Slither Spear. So I suppose it's flavor appropriate.
I am surprised that it's like actually a Naga though. So maybe there will be a density of Nagas again for Demon Hunter. I don't know. But I mean, just a solid turn 1, no matter what, I think.
It's a solid turn 1 regardless. You play that into the spirit of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not bad. That's a pretty good curve.
Oh wait, is that one would work, huh? Wait, spirit of the team is just you have to, or is it still only on your turn? I don't know.
I think it's still only on your turn because otherwise
okay.
people would take damage when they attack into you.
Yeah.
That'd be so much more interesting though. I would love that. Whatever.
Including if it's only like +1 attack, but it's still on the opponent's turn, so they take damage when they attack. That would be that would be a cool card.
Little Thorns.
That would tilt people a lot.
Oh, it would.
Yeah,
no one ever knows how that works. Because it's so rare.
It's basically only happens when there's a bug. Every once in a while there's a bug.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
There's also a card Pro Gamer, which we mentioned, 2 mana, 2/3, battle cry. Challenge your opponent to a game of rock, paper, scissors. The winner draws 2 cards. So if you saw the little video of this, you saw how it works, but the way that this works is you pick rock, paper, or scissors right away, and then like a suspicious card, your opponent picks rock, paper, or scissors. You know, they didn't see your choice, obviously. They pick that at the start of their turn, and if you won the rock, paper, scissors game, you draw 2 cards then. Otherwise, if they won, they draw 2 cards, or if it was a tie, nobody draws any cards. It doesn't trigger again. So you have a 1/3 chance of drawing 2 cards, a 1/3 chance of your opponent drawing 2 cards, and a 1/3 chance of having just played a 2 mana 2/3. Then Dark Moon Magician is a mage card that casts a random spell after you cast a spell. Let me get it's being slow to load the exact card. So it's 3 mana, 2/3 elusive. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell that costs 1 more. So it will not target itself with those spells because it's elusive, and like anything that casts random spells, it respects targeting. That's, by the way, how this has always worked. That's not a consequence of the recent change where they changed like Conductivity and Zentimo and Kotori Lightblade to respect targeting. Random spells like Rune of the Archmage and stuff have always respected valid targeting. So it won't target itself, which does make it a little better, probably. We'll talk more about Dark Moon Magician. And lastly, Wave of Nostalgia is a shaman card. It is 5 mana, nature spell, transform all minions into random legendary ones from the past. And if you still remember the Azurite Murloc, you might be thinking, all minions? Does that count my hand and my deck? No. The all just means your minions on the board and your opponent's minions on the board. It is only minions on the board, even though it says all in all caps.
Because we can never be consistent. Ever. Okay.
That's what all used to mean. Right?
Yeah.
So, all right. With that out of the way, we will start with card you can't wait to play with. I have a feeling I might have sniped Edels on this one. I put Rocket Hopper, which is a new shaman card. I'm going to follow the not consistent by not being consistent on how I pronounce shaman or shaman. Because I noticed I just did that the other way.
It's all right. You did not say shaman, so it's fine.
Yeah, only Raven's allowed to do that. Nobody else is.
His grandfather did.
Shame on anyone besides Raven.
Exactly.
Who says shaman.
Uh-huh.
Rocket Hopper is a 5-mana 10/10 beast with Rush, but Overload 4. But like Edel was mentioning, I'm really excited for like an Overload Shaman. I almost feel like maybe there's like a Shutter Block Inza thing, although that might be too complicated. But Overload 4 is pretty steep, but you still have enough mana to play Overdraft.
Yeah, Overdraft exists.
Or like Thorim is still in Standard.
Yeah, and that is a big reason I'm like, okay, well now that we have a real Overload payoff worth including in this deck that I mentioned in Life and Ladder, yeah, we can throw Thorim in there and it'll be great. So really excited for the possibilities.
You can actually have a density of Overload cards with several ways to get that off, have a payoff for it, not just, oh, I got rid of the downside, but like I have a payoff for getting rid of the downside. And, 10/10 Rush as early as turn 5 or 4 on the coin.
Pretty good.
And also he's adorable.
And there'll be a density of frogs and just have a bunch of frogs. I don't think this is a Reno Shaman deck with the frogs, because you want to actually have the Overdraft or the Thorim with it.
I mean, you could though. But, sometimes you just if you play a 10/10 on 5 and you take the next turn off, you still have a 10 something on the board on their turn 5 that they kind of have to deal with, or it's hitting them in the face. So you might be able to afford to take the next turn off, even in a Reno deck.
Or if you play it later in the game, you can probably afford 4 mana. Plus, you might have your weapon up, so you protect it with frog taunts, and then it's another frog that's really big and hard to hit. I don't know. I'm mostly excited to play it in a Overdraft, do a lot of damage, Jive Insect.
Yeah, the deck was unironically running Jive Insect, and it was great. Sometimes I would just Jive on 5 and have a Ragnaros, and they were like, wait, what? No conductivity was played? What's going on? It's great.
Nope, we're just doing some damage. We don't need to Nature Shaman kill with just burn spells, but we have a lot of burn. So I am excited for that. I also put a note, I won't talk the details, we got some secret Hunter cards, and even though I'm not usually ever a fan of facing a bunch of secrets, I really enjoyed Secret Hunter, like Arcane Secret Hunter. This would not be an Arcane Secret Hunter, but getting to play like the bow again and stuff like that. We got a secret that draws a card.
And you run Titanforge traps, so you don't have to play all the secrets in your deck. So the card that we're talking about, I don't think it's on our superlatives, but it's Product 9, which is a 5-mana 4/4 mech beast with Battlecry. Recast every friendly secret that triggered this game. So it's not secret you've played, right? Because Titanforge Traps doesn't play the secrets, but you generally take secrets that, when you're running, say, the Reno Hunter, you generally run one copy of Hidden Meaning, one copy of Bait and Switch, and then a Costume Singer to pull them out. But you also run Titanforge Traps, so that gives you 2 other secrets that usually those aren't the same. I mean, sometimes they are, but they're not always the same. And then that's more that you would have for Product 9 to be able to retrigger. So that would be interesting. And
there's
plus they have a new secret.
Yes, which is very good. It's a draw card, and it's nuts. It has no fail state. It is no good for trying to keep a secret up if you have things that care about that. But Hunter isn't usually the type that cares about keeping secrets in play. That's more of a rogue or mage thing. But
that card is bargain bin secret after your 2 mana, because all the Hunter secrets. Secret after your opponent plays a minion, spell, or weapon, draw a card of the other 2 types. It's basically
Absurd.
2 mana, draw 2 almost immediately.
Draw,
and it almost always
bow.
tutors your bow. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be spooky. Yeah, and since often they have limited minions as well, I think pretty good odds that you're gonna get the Titan or Subject 9. It's gonna be it's gonna be a time. So that is exciting. I picked Murloc Grofin for my card I can't wait to play with. which was basically like picking Rocket Hopper, just a different card that I think is going to be in that deck. I suppose there's a route where like maybe if the overload stuff is a little too finicky and tricky to get going, something cool about Murloc Grofin is if you can hand buff it, it summons a copy with the stats. So I may experiment actually in a different direction where you run like, I mean, maybe we don't do Stereo Totem, but maybe we do. And the party animal, I think, buffs like menagerie-wise in your hand, right? +1/+1 to a minion of each type. So if this is your Murloc, right, then, 1 mana 2/2 that summons a 2/2 with Rush. Twice the stats, right? Twice as good. And getting, the 8/8 is always just like, if you get the chance to play it, that's 2 8/8s. That's pretty good.
That's kind of Galakron Shaman. Got a couple 8/8 rushers.
Yeah.
We don't also have a 5/2 weapon.
I think it's just like, it's cool to be able to get this extra gas for the matchups where they do make you go long. So as long as they have, relevant keywords and you're not just playing a naked 8/8, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. And in case you forgot or you haven't seen this card, 1 mana, 1/1 Murloc, Gigantify, Battlecry, summon a Tiny Fin with Russian stats equal to its minions. And the Tiny Fin is pretty cute.
It's also just a 1 mana 2/2, right? It's just spread across 2 bodies. But...
Yeah. Great turn 1 play regardless.
Yeah, even if you can't hand buff it.
Particularly if you're dealing with a lot of costume singers. Way of getting rid of that.
That's true. Or getting through an opposing shaman's 1/1 frog taunt things. Oh my god.
the pop-up book frogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Pop-up book frogs. Oh my gosh. So annoying.
They're great.
Well, mine is, as usual, a priest card. It is a little bit of copium at this point because I don't know that this is going to make a control playable. I think it's helping to push us in that direction, but at least it's something. So Funhouse Mirror is a 3 mana priest spell. Summon a copy of an enemy minion. It attacks the original. And it's a shadow spell. So this is single target Soul Mirror. Soul Mirror was, Soul Mirror was played. Soul Mirror was a board wipe at 7 mana, but the ideal state with something like this is that you're playing something that will live on the back end of it if you have another way to get rid of it, or something where you get like a death rattle that you want. Sometimes that's beneficial. Like, something like a saddle up board, for example, like you could trade off one of those minions, get a minion left over. But ultimately, we've been really missing the light it burns. And this is more expensive than the light it burns, but it's more often than not, it's going to be removal. Or sometimes you take a rush minion that'll live, and then you can rush into something else. Like there's a whole bunch of things that you can do with it. Oh no, you can't rush into something else because that consumes the attack. That's right. That's what we learned from Soul. So that doesn't actually work. But sometimes you get like a lifesteal minion, you get a taunt, you get, there's a whole bunch of different applications for this, and sometimes it's just the light it burns, right? Like you're summoning something with the same attack as the other minion, and it's enough to kill it, and then you kill it, and it's gone. So single target removal is something that has been a bit of a challenge for Priest. Getting a little bit more will help. We need some better board wipes also, but this is a start.
Well, and there's a bunch of Titans that have higher health than attack. So this could be kind of the priest reverb, right? Particularly if they are a Titan that is able to remove stuff. So like Primus is a good one because then you can, use an ability to remove their Primus potentially if they haven't used blood yet. Priest is kind of the best one potentially, right? If they do a proactive priest Titan, then you can be like, ha, mine attacks yours, and then I remove, your 6-drop and your Titan.
Or Golganeth. Nobody ever uses the 20 damage one. So that's usually gonna take it out. So then you can draw the 3 overload cards that aren't in your deck afterwards.
There's still the ones that it doesn't work so well with either, right? Like Sargeras, you don't really want to do that. Hunter Titan, you don't really want to do that either. No, A&R is good though.
Yeah, ENR's very good. I would take an ENR. Oh.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see.
All right. Well, the cards that we picked last time for a card you can't wait to play with, I picked Shutterblock, which I still can't wait to play with it. I feel like I can't wait for it to really figure it out. I know, Edel, that you had done a bit of a Wish Upon a Star for a bit there, but I feel like it's waiting for its time. Edel, you picked Sonya, and Steve, you picked Time Winder Zarimi, which I think I have had more fun with than you overall.
I did have fun with it on day one until it became less of a deck that I wanted to play.
I played it in Druid.
I did play it in Druid. It was fun in Druid. That's fair.
All right, so card you are scared of. Wicked, what card are you scared of?
So I don't know how I'm rethinking this now, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. But Return Policy, we just talked about it. 3-mana Demon Hunter spell, discover a friendly Death Rattle card. You've played this game, trigger this Death Rattle. Do we really need more Umpire's Grasps? Like, it just seems
if it
like
means we're actually playing something other than Shopper, that's a demon in this deck.
No, it doesn't.
I'll take
it just means that you already trigger it, and then you can play the weapon for just a 3-attack weapon, but you've already gotten the value out of it. So I don't know. Like, it makes it easier to get more Shoppers, and then which means more Magtheridons, which means more dies.
Well, you still only have, because the Umpire's Graph pulls it from your deck. If you already pulled all your Shoppers from your deck, I guess it means you don't have to draw the second Umpire's Grasp to get the second Shopper.
Yeah, that's why I was starting to reconsider it once I kind of calmed down a little bit. But it's maybe it's not good enough to be in the deck. I don't know, but it's also, I could see a world in which that's just making it more consistent because you don't have to draw the second Grasp, right? And then so it just pulls that out immediately before it, because like there's that kind of weird tension after the first Umpire's Grasp where are you going to draw the second Shopper before you draw the second weapon? And this makes it a lot less likely that you're going to draw the second Sharper, have to pay the 5 mana for it.
I think the only way this is run to be used with Umpire's Grasp is if you're running a lot of big demons. Otherwise, it's like it's too many cards dedicated to one gimmicky thing that's just going to get worse over time. But
it's too easy to draw patches, I think.
I do think it's reasonable to be scared of, though, just because it's 3 mana, and if there's a point where there's big death rattles, right, where it's not the Umpire's Grasp that you're copying, but it's like some demon that had a death rattle that got discounted by the Umpire's Grasp with some like big thing. It doesn't exist currently, but in the future, there's a very real possibility that there will be something like that. And I don't know, maybe someone will make a CCG deck with this, or it just makes you have to be on the lookout for like, neutral death rattles and other stuff where this could be scary, because being able to 3 mana replay a death rattle can sometimes be a spooky thing.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of things that can make that happen, right? So that's where it can get spooky.
And to emphasize, it doesn't have to be a card that has died to repeat its death rattle. You just have played it. Mm-hmm. So you can like play the CCG and then immediately get the effect if you have another 3 mana versus having to wait for it to die. Or if you cheated out a big future demon with a big death rattle, you don't have to wait for it to die. That does make it better, I think.
Yeah, so you can just play play Umpire's Grasp on 3, Return Policy on 4, and draw the other Shopper.
So, Edel, what card did you pick as card you're scared of?
So I initially had a different one, but Wicked had that card later on in our sequence here. So I decided to go for my initial instinct, which was Snuggle Teddy, which is unsuspecting. May not look like much. It's that from the initial reveal of the set. They're demonstrating the Gigantify keyword, 3 mana, 2/4. I believe it is a beast. I'm not positive though.
It is, yeah.
Gigantify, taunt, elusive, lifesteal in Druid. That's some serious defense that you can't use removal on in Druid. And you know what happens between playing that on 3 to stem the bleeding and playing it on 8 to stabilize? You play ramp. So, yeah, it's not going to be, 5 turns between when you play the first half and when you play the second half for this one. And that just has me all kind of spooked because it's some pretty powerful keywords, and taunt lifesteal is scary for any aggro decks in the first place. But
Yep.
particularly when often the way you beat Druid is by beating them down, being faced with a big old pile of sustain like this does not have me excited for going up against them. So
And they can stall into playing Toyrantis on 10.
yep, another big elusive card. Yeah. Oy.
Yeah. Can't use the Funhouse Mirror on that. Otherwise, it'd be not a bad target.
Mhm.
So the card that I picked, I almost put this for a card I can't wait to play with because I can't wait to play with it. But I'm also a little spooked. And this is Puppet Master Dorian, which is the one that you could get a diamond for if you spring for the golden. I probably won't, but I do like this card. It is a 4-mana 2/6. After you draw a minion, get a 1/1 copy of that of it that costs 1. And it's neutral. And you obviously, if it dies before you draw a card, that's not great. You can't control exactly what you draw unless you tutor something on the turn that you play it, and then you kind of can control exactly what you draw. So, and even if you're drawing something like a Zarimi, which doesn't work more than once, you still could play it for 1 mana and then play a bunch of stuff with it, and then that gets to attack right away after you play your Zarimi. I mean, there's just like so many different cards that either improve from happening twice or just improve from being 1 mana. But it's probably good that there isn't a good card to tutor Sif. Otherwise, that's definitely what you're doing. But, in Priest, we have Draw Dragons. Let me see, I'm looking for particular.
Also in Druid.
In Druid, you can draw a Beast, for example. And you can also you can draw cards that cost 6 or more with Summer Flower Child, although that's 9 mana. But you're a druid. You have all the mana because you're a druid.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff, but I think the big one that reasons they put Gatekeeper to 4 mana is because anyone can just draw their deck until they have the hand they want and then go Dorian Gatekeeper.
So
yep.
I actually had this as my card you want to be good but isn't until I saw that you had this here, because it is like my litmus test for cards like this is, what is this card asking of you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
This card is asking of you to have 4 mana to play the Dorian and have some sort of a draw effect in it, and have hand space if you do hit, and have enough minions that have battle cries or other board effects to want the 1/1, right? And I'm not saying that there's not some decks that will fulfill all of those conditions, but it's not going to be, it's going to be hard to get all the stars to align, because like you can't just you can just slam this on 4 and maybe it lives, but it's not
it does
likely
have 6
to.
health, but yeah,
it has 6 health, and that's got soft taunt on it, and a target on its butt. So that's the kind of thing where you're probably going to want to play it at least with a draw spell to get some value out of it, and then you have to have enough mana to be able to play that and then just draw. And if you're doing that, that's a very low tempo turn late enough in the game where you can get punished.
that is true. I was looking at drawing taunt minions with some of the warrior cards. I think there might be more going on with taunt warrior or like taunt mech warrior, and you can get a testing dummy. Death rattle, deal 8 damage randomly split among all enemies. That is 1/1.
Or you
So
can get
that's
2
not
boom
a bad-
bosses after Bran. Okay,
Oh, but
never
boom
mind.
boss
You
isn't a
convinced
taunt,
me.
so you can't tutor it. You have to get lucky on that one. Which is probably good.
It's Highlander Warrior. You'll always draw it. It's fine.
I just had a thought.
That is true.
In Warrior, with the draw 2 taunt minions, maybe you throw a Dorian into the like Dr. Boom Warrior where you're triggering the target dummy death rattles, because if you
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah. Wait, did you already say that? Did I miss that?
You said it more clearly. But yes, the the testing dummy. Yeah, if you're triggering the testing dummy death rattles, then if that's already something that you're bringing the deck around, which has not really been good enough mainstream, but there have certainly been people working on it. Like Enzo in our Discord has perennially been working on it.
We'll get back to that deck later.
We'll get back to it. So, but okay, I am less scared of it after what you said, Bucket. It's certainly not a like go into every deck. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But it's like potential combo enabler. It sort of screams that for me, right? Whether it's Druid turbo drawing and then doing the Gatekeeper thing just so they can get a 1 mana Elonius and cover artist, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. They have probably better ways of doing it.
Yeah, you can always cover artist with this.
But
It's 8 mana, but
like, no, I'm just saying, like, you Dorian Gatekeeper, and then you get a 1 mana Aulonius and a 1 mana cover artist, and then the rest of your hand is spells that deal damage.
that would not be bad.
So,
yeah.
I mean, who knows? It's just one of those things where, unlike the original, which it put the 1/1s in play, so like there were board space issues, you basically needed death rattles on that. This one has potential because it puts them in your hand, which means you can do battle cries, you can like set things up. Yeah. It's a little spooky. The diamond is very cool though.
It is. And it's a fun deck building card at the very least, I think. So, if we're drawing demons and warlock, Wretched Queen, Death Rattle, summon 2/4/6 knights with taunt. That didn't work before, but it might in the future, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, getting 2 pop cards would be fine, right? Like that would be completely okay.
It would.
That would be totally fine.
Yep.
All right. The cards that we were scared of last time, Wicked, I think you had the best choice here, which was Jungle Gym. It did get nerfed. Edel, you had Sky Mother, Aviana, which could still be scary. I feel like it hasn't quite manifested yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Mine was
been in stuff and has been good.
It's also had to be buffed,
Yes.
so we'll add that.
That's true.
That's true. I put Death Knight as represented by Zombie Tank, and that has not manifested, so yeah.
I think we were both very, very hurt by the hand buff Death Knight that never became a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a thing in theory crafting, and it never materialized in the actual game. But I think we were both very scarred by that. Yeah.
It just goes to show theory crafting is not the meta. Every time we forget this, people freak out.
I think it's like you always know there's going to be something that isn't real, but you don't know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, since you don't know which one, you always miscalibrate. All right, card you want to be good but isn't. So I picked Pro Gamer, which was the rock, paper, scissors card.
Quite true.
Cora had a tweet that basically agrees with me on this, where she said, I've wanted to put a rock, paper, scissors card in the game for a while. It probably won't help you win many games, but if you win the game within the game, then you're already a winner.
Yeah.
So
no, card is horrible. It's so bad. People are going to think that it's good because they think they can like outmaneuver the opponent or whatever, but there's just not enough information for that. And also, even if you win, you don't get the 2 cards until your next turn. So unless you're specifically playing it on 2, like it's just not that great of a card draw thing.
It's not about winning, it's about sending a message.
Of giving your opponent 2 cards and then conceding. Yeah.
Yeah, the new coin Concede. Yeah, there's just... you only have a 1/3 chance of doing a thing. Even if it's a tie, you just played a 2 mana 2/3. You know, good job. Not very exciting.
I'm just upset.
Yeah.
I am just upset that this didn't have Gigantify and that the gigantic one made you play rock, paper, scissors, rock.
Oh, jeez.
Just make it even. I mean, I guess objectively that's better. Well, no, it's worse because now so it's like play this card that's bad and it takes up a space in your hand for the rest of the game because it's 8 mana. So I don't think I would actually really want this card to be good. I do think it's a shame that it's like so bad, but I do think it's very funny.
Yeah.
All right, Edel, what did you pick for card you want to be good but isn't?
So I'm happy to be proven wrong on this, but it's just so weird. Replicatorinator. It's a 5 mana, 5/5 battle cry. Oh wait, I guess not battle cry. Sorry, just miniaturize and gigantify. So you get 5 mana, 5/5. You get a 1/1, and you get an 8/8, and to your hand. And the effect on the card is whenever you play a minion that has the same attack as this minion, you get another, or you summon another copy. Right? So things with 5 attack, things with 1 attack, things with 8 attack. Except on the 8 attack one, you've spent 8 mana. On 5 attack one, you've spent 5 mana. So it really is just if there's any shenanigans you can do with that mini, if there's ever any like 1 attack minions that are more expensive, I guess in Paladin,
Yeah.
you could on 8, you could get 2 of the Titan. However good that is, I don't know. It's something.
There's the new Flickering Light bot that's an 8/8 that discounts from holy spells.
So this is a Paladin card. I don't know what you're doing in anything besides Paladin.
Safety expert in Warrior, maybe, but you'd have to stick it and then play the safety expert or cheat it out, which is the Death Rattle Shuffle bombs into your opponent's deck, which we'll get to. Has 8 attack.
I mean, in a hand buff Paladin, right? Like, if you've been hand buffing and then you draw this, then you just get more things
no,
on the board.
it's not for hand buff, right? The holy deck is honestly an aura deck. It's not. There's no hand buffs in the holy deck.
No, I'm saying you just throw the like that's completely separate.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Play.
Like if you just happen to line things up.
Yeah,
right.
Because you do, right? Like that.
I
like,
guess.
Or you buff this and then you draw Leroy, right?
It just seems so variable.
It's going to be difficult to manage, but I could see there are stranger things that you could dream up, I think. But it is a very weird thing to try to line up. Or if you have something like, if you have other 5 attack minions that you really care about doubling. But this feels like a card that's breakable. It's one of those cards where at first it seems broken, and then you think about it and you're like, why would I ever want to do this? And then somebody finds a way to break it and make it, or like, they find a way to buff it twice and play Sonya after it or something stupid like that, right? Like just like I don't know how it would work out, but I could just see a scenario where you could get this to useful in ish scenarios.
Like I guess with the hand buffing thing, with the mini, like any other minis you have or 1 attack things that you've been buffing at the same pace, like you would get copies.
I mean, even just like a Flood Paladin, like you just play 1/1s, right? Is it play or summon?
It's play.
Okay, so the hero power doesn't do anything.
And it doesn't have to be the same stats, just same attack.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like things that you could play on the same turn as the like things with 5 attack that are not like there's a lot of good ones that are 6 mana. So it's like if you stick it, then your neck you can curve into a great thing. Things that are less than that, like Waste Remover, Malefic Rook in Warlock, Fireworker in Warrior, which you can discount by up to 5 with the new Part Scrapper. That's the one that has goodbye, 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 and it spend up to 5 armor.
Right, yeah.
Make your next mech cost that much less. And Fireworker is a 5 mana, 5/5 mech Death Rattle summon 2 1/1 boombots. So you could play that free alongside
the
Replicanator.
Oh, does the discount carry over turns? It does. Oh my. Okay.
So, and then if you're able to get the 10 mana 8/8 Safety Expert, which summons bombs, you could also potentially copy that, but that's a little harder. You can't really do that in the same turn with the gigantic.
Okay, I may have jumped, but even so, these do feel kind of like
awkward.
fringe and like long shots where it's like, okay, well maybe this can work, but I don't know.
It's definitely not going into every deck. Are there any like Ziliacs that have 5
I'm
attack?
sure you can build a Ziliax that would get you there. I don't know exactly how, but I'm sure there's a way. I mean, you could play a Raden. Really,
It has to stick.
It has to stick, and yeah, it's like we could spend a whole lot of time trying to figure. Oh, you know what? Observer of Myths could be interesting with the miniature one.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if Hunter wants to run a 5-mana 5/5 for that. But...
I mean, I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm just saying it's an idea. It's something for CDC to play with, you know.
Ticking Haywire Ziliax has 5 attack, 5/7. That could easily be free. So you play it on 5, you get 2 of them.
Oh,
they don't have rush or anything.
I got it. No, I got it. Okay. So you get this, you get it to stick, and then you play Enar. Done. You solved it.
Broke the meta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
That's it. Rank 1 legend. You're set. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we've
We've definitely got
that one.
down a rabbit hole on that one. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it's probably bad.
It probably still is.
So mine is Puppet Theater, which is a 4-mana priest location with 2 durability. Choose an enemy minion, get a 1/1 copy of it that costs 1. So this sounds like busted until you realize that there are a lot of minions that your opponents will play that you don't want a 1/1 copy of because they don't have text on them, and also you're paying 4 mana to do nothing. I mean, if you're playing this on curve, you're paying 4 mana to do nothing, and we've seen 4 mana locations just not see play, right? Like even Forge of Wills, not seeing play at 4 mana.
Yeah.
Like the only one that's really been, it has to be like actually broken, like Prison of Yogg-Saron. I don't think Prison of Yogg-Saron's broken, but that effect is that powerful that it's good enough to see play. But 4 mana for a location that just doesn't do anything right away, and then your opponent has to either have a minion on the board that you want to copy that's going to do something for you. Like you're relying on your opponent giving you something that this is going to be good with, which is not always going to happen, and then it's just going to sit in your hand.
So this was almost my card I'm scared of, mostly because of the Highlander cards. Because if in a world where, you know, you're playing Highlander Priest and you get this down on 4, you're up against any other Highlander deck. I guess not Hunter, because their Highlander card isn't that impressive, but you're a shaman. You're staring this down. You want to play your on-curve, you know, Staff of the Nine Frogs. And you're like, but then they get 1. Or like, you know, Warrior wants to play their brand, and it's like, but then they get 1.
Yeah, though you don't have that many battle cries in a
well, you could.
Anyway.
I did have a game specifically where I copied their brand because I had Madame Lazul, and then I proceeded to Lazul and you know, get multiple Thogrins and other things.
I mean, yeah, you can take an Amenthul with this, right? Like in the mirror, you can steal an Amenthul. That's probably good enough. But like any Titan,
I think one thing that makes it both better and worse, I'm not sure which one wins out on that, is that if they've already played something that you want to steal with this, like they have to have already played it. You can also kind of play it as like a chilling effect or like the second tick. Like they have to choose, do I play something they want to copy with this thing into this thing? Which on the one hand, that makes it worse because they're less likely to play the thing you want to copy. But on the other hand, they don't get to play the thing that you want to copy if they're staring this down.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of has a preventative effect.
Like,
I'm not saying it's great necessarily, but
imagine you have this in play. Your druid opponent does their ANR pop-off turn. And you're like, okay, I'll get a 1-mana 1/1 copy of ANR.
I'm not saying it's not going to have high rolls,
like,
right? Like,
it's just weird because they get to see it there, and then they have to set. So yeah, like McGee is saying, I can see a world where it's just like, well, I have this really cool thing I can do, but then I know they get to do it at a discount.
I think that like this is one of those cards that's going to pop off just enough to convince people to keep it in their decks, even if it ends up being bad, right?
Maybe.
It
depends on if we're in like an aggressive meta or not, right? Because obviously it's pretty terrible if you're being faced down by a bunch of early board decks, particularly with the weakness of removal and clears right now. But if there's like a bunch of various Highlander decks around, it could be pretty good.
I mean, it's probably a one of an arena. I mean, I don't know that I see it outside of Arena Priest, but because there's a lot of cards in those decks.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, if you are playing 2-ofs, then you won't be able to activate a bunch of the things you would want, like the highlighter cards. So
yeah.
Oh god, imagine this with the Nathria card that when you played like a copied card, it would steal it. The Harvester of Envy.
Don't make me sad. Like,
I'm very glad.
My poor Harvester of Envy.
Experience that.
He never really got his time in the sun.
There were some moments.
All right. So last time, for card you want to be good but isn't, I think this is the one that I hit. I picked Raza. I said Raza as a combo card, but really I should have just been like Raza in general.
Yeah. I'm still
we'll
going to keep trying.
Edel, you picked Magtheridon, which is true for Magtheridon as
himself, yeah.
It turns out Magtheridon is a very good card at 3 and a not very good card at 8. Yes.
Yeah. And Wicked, you picked Botface, which if we do ever get a mech warrior, like maybe, but I think not because of Botface.
No, it's so
like,
bad.
It'll be because of other things.
It's not even just like it got buffed to like ginormous stats and it's still not good.
There are a couple better. Oh no, because there's Gigantify. I guess there's one more mini in the neutral legendary that has both. But yeah.
But also it's just like the minis are just synergistic that you need to build around, and like you get a mystery egg off of that and you're very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, card you think is over or underrated? We all picked underrated again.
Yeah.
Wicked, what do you think is underrated?
Maybe we just changed this to underrated.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I'm just never tuned in enough to know what people are saying is overrated.
I think people have kind of gotten people have kind of gotten the sense of, when things are actually broken or not. And also they've been shooting high on a lot of the card design. So when things look broken, more likely than not, they actually are now. So, but anyway, I picked Malfunction, which is a 2-mana arcane spell for Mage. Deal 3 damage split among all enemy minions. If your deck has no minions, deal 3 more. So we had a card in Warrior called Minefield, which was this, but 5 damage split among all minions, not just enemy minions. And that card saw play a fair amount. Being able to do that, especially early, especially against something like a Paladin that runs Divine Shields. I assume that all the damage goes at once, so it wouldn't proc like the zombies that are coming off of like
Reborn.
mining casualties or something like that, or like Mermy, but certainly getting through Divine Shields and still picking off some of those minions early and being able to clear a wide board, without spending very much mana and then still being able to develop behind it. Like, I don't know if this is enough to make Spellmage a playable deck, but it helps a lot.
Yeah,
and at some point, Spellmage will be playable, and this card is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is definitely one of those where like it has to be a Spellmage. Like it's pretty bad at
Oh, it's terrible if you even if you just like discover this in like a regular mage. Like,
Yeah.
But in a spell mage specifically, 6 damage split across all enemy minions, not just all minions, but enemy minions
Mhm.
for 2 mana is a hell of a deal.
Yeah. Well, my pick is Safety Expert, which is a new warrior card. 10 mana, don't even care about the stats, but I think it's an 8/8 rush. Death Rattle.
Copy it.
Shuffle 3 bombs into your opponent's deck. Now you may be saying, 10 mana, what? This doesn't matter. We now have 2 ways of cheating it out for 5. So, or on, I guess one of them is three mana, actually. There's the one that we mentioned earlier, where you lose some armor to discount your next mech by 5. So you could play this on 5 with that.
Well, you lose up to 5 armor to discount it that much less. So if you only have 2 armor, then you can discount it by 2. Probably wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
If it's going to be less than 5.
Yeah, you probably use safety goggles.
But that is relevant.
Yeah, I think it's, exactly. You safety goggles, and then you get rid of that armor to discount. And then on turn 4, you play your weapon that activates the death rattle. And then on turn 5, you play this and blow up the weapon. That's a lot of bombs. There's also the, I believe, 3 mana spell where you put your highest cost mech into play and deal 5 damage, or maybe it's just minion. Maybe it doesn't have to be a mech.
I think it's your highest cost minion.
It's
you deal
chemical spill, but it costs 5. Chemical
spill. It costs 5.
Yeah, chemical spill is a 5 mana warrior spell. Summon the highest cost minion from your hand. 5 damage.
So I was right. Both of them are ways of doing it on 5. Regardless, paying 5 mana for your 10 mana minion is great, particularly when you have preloaded a weapon that will activate its death rattle to shuffle in so many bombs. Oh my god. If this lives and you play the mini weapon, that's like, it's 6 bombs right away, and then, another 3 when it itself dies. If you've done it with chemical spill and you've just gone all in and you have the location that summons a copy of a damaged minion, like, Bomb Warrior's back. I don't know.
You can also, with Inventor Boom, you can summon more of this again.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tutor it with Town Crier because it has Rush.
Like, I think you can make it so you just have this and the dummies as your targets, right? And you're happy with those as the death rattles, right?
You could even just like take the Excavate warrior that you have right now and just run like safety experts and burrow bustards, and that might be fine too, right? And then you've got Inventor Boom, you got the thing to bounce the Inventor Boom and do it again. Maybe you even cut the Excavate package just to do this. There's also
I think you don't need anything else.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's good enough to make its way into this deck, but they also added a neutral card, Explodeneer. 3 mana 2/4. At the end of your turn, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. It specifies on that card when drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. I don't know why it that and not another one, but whatever.
Space
boxes. But you might run those in addition. That's not a mech, so you could still run that in the deck, and more bombs, more fun.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got to remove it. We're just gonna keep doing that,
right?
And this is something. Wicked mentioned the Excavate Warrior. This was a World 8 list, I think, that was doing Excavate, but not Bran. But with the Inventor Boom, you could still just get like these huge turns. You could bounce the Inventor Boom, get more of it, and like that was working pretty well without Bran. So even if Bran gets hit, Reno Warrior definitely kind of public enemy number 1.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily mean Warrior's out.
That deck would probably get a lot better because the worst matchup by a country mile is Highlander Warrior. So, because you just don't have enough damage with it. But I mean, now if this would be a lot more damage. It's funny because Admirable tweeted today, tweeted out like, "Oh, this is exactly what you said. Like, get your safety goggles ready. Like, part scrapper, safety expert. Boom Wrench at 4 mana, Boom Wrench at 1 mana, and then rank 1 legend. And somebody tweeted at him that he quote tweeted, "It's so obvious you didn't play Mech Warrior. Also remind me of any shuffle based decks that have actually been good." And it's just like all
Bomb
of them.
Warrior. Also, Bomb Warrior.
Also, Plague DK is like been played. Like it's not nothing. Like it's not as good.
Plague
but,
DK has been played, and I think has largely been talked about as like, but it's actually a bad deck, and once it no longer countered the thing, it's been
like we
really
had
bad.
But we had like a whole competitive meta that revolved around Bomb Warrior Mirror.
That
like,
revolved around sticky fingers to take the opponent's wrench, right? Like, because they kept shuffling bombs into your deck. Now, you could argue, okay, well, but part of that was because the weapon kept getting upgraded and hitting you in the face on top of it. Well, this one will be shipping target dummy damage at your face. Like, it's you don't have to go all in on the stuff. You're still just cheating out big things that do a bunch of face damage.
And the safety expert is like also an 8/8. You know, it's also an 8/8
with rush, right?
Well, with rush, so it's not like do nothing when you're cheating that out.
And
if
you get them back off of Inventor Boom, and your opponent doesn't have any minions, like that's just 16 damage face.
and hey, you could Master Dorian and get a 1/1 copy of it.
Like there may not even be space for that kind of thing, but
I would doubt there is.
There are though like so many good hits for Puppet Master Dorian with this that like you might just run it because almost anything you draw is fine.
I don't know if there's like another taunt we can do besides target dummy to be able to make that work, but certainly going like Dorian and then the 1/2 that draws a rush, right? Could be great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities, I feel like.
Let me see. Keyword taunt. Is there anything else that we want to run that's not going to like mess us up? Because the problem is like you don't want to run like more than one other taunt, I think, because you want to make sure you do tutor testing dummy.
I mean, you could maybe do a Ziliax, right? Maybe you do the perfect virus, right?
Yeah.
So then if you're getting a 1/1 copy, it's still a, rush poisonous Divine Shield.
Which is not bad. And it leaves a poisonous taunt behind that has elusive that they have to deal with. So
yeah,
even that totally works.
We'll have to
I'm
jump into some
excited
serious
for this
deck
card.
building. But I think this was the missing piece for me, right? To make that deck work. Like it was just shy of enough things to use with the wrench before. It was basically just target dummy, and effectively doubling the number of good things, I think makes that deck viable, because the one that summoned Boombots was just not impactful enough.
Yeah. Well, and this also this could be another reason why they changed the Highlander cards, is that bombs were coming, and like yet another way to turn them off.
Maybe.
They didn't want there to be. I think they probably would have made that change anyway, but it could be part of why they wanted to make it before the mini set dropped.
Yeah.
So the card that I picked was Overgrown Beanstalk. And this is a druid card that was in the initial announce day. It is a 3-mana nature spell, summon a 2/2 treant, draw a card for each treant you control. So it's a minimum of drawing one card, but what I'm thinking of for this is Drum Druid, which is low-key still playable, just not being played. But this is an insane refill for that deck, which can just gas out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have this, you're much less likely to gas out. You can also play Aviana with this, and then that lets you actually draw into those legendaries. That gives you a game plan if your drums don't work, because the other problem with Drum Druid would be you have 2 big drums, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So Aviana gives you a little bit of a backup game plan. Now, this also I think is better if we're not seeing a bunch of Highlander Warrior, because I haven't actually played the Drum Druid, but I imagine Highlander Warrior is not really what it wants to face. But the Overgrown Beanstalk, if we do see a resurgence of that, this is kind of composting. It is 1 more expensive, but it draws right away.
You can still run things like Blood Treant and like Aerosolizer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That can get you some more treants.
Or like Forest Seedlings once it upgrades, right? That's 1 mana, summons 2, and then you're getting 1 off of the Overgrown Beanstalk itself. So 4 mana for 3 2/2 treants and draw 3. Like, that's pretty good.
And I always, I enjoy the sort of aggro druid decks, and they tend to be, pretty cheap to craft. And so I think, I don't know if that's going to be good, but I haven't really seen anyone talking about Overgrown Beanstalk except for World 8. And I think that people are kind of sleeping on that there are actually a lot of treant cards in Druid right now, and the Drum Circle gives you a big spike with it. So Drum Circle cultivation.
And it also could just be like, there will be a tree of Druid at some point, right? Like, it may not be right away. Like, this might still not be good enough to get it there, but like, they're going to print more treant cards over the next year and a half. So we will get a tree and Druid, and this will see play. If there is a tree Druid, this will see play in it. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And something like a treant Druid, it needs refill. Like, it needs a composting. This is a composting.
Yeah. We lost, what was it, Life After Death or whatever that card was that would be infused that we used to run in that deck, and we lost that.
All right, well, last time we also all picked underrated. Wicked, you picked Darkthorn Quilter, which
didn't pan
nobody
out.
remembers what that card is. It's the Quillbore hand buff thing that deals damage. It was really good in theory crafting, we promise you guys. Edel, you picked the Origami cards as underrated.
Yeah, didn't pan out.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah. Nah, we'll see. Probably not.
They're good in Arena.
I also... Yeah, I'm sure. I also was burned by theory crafting. I picked Warsong Grunt, mainly because Kibler just destroyed us with a Warsong Grunt, but I also should have remembered, A, this is theory crafting, and B, it's Kibler. So it's going to work really well for him, and maybe not in the meta.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict these things. All right. Lastly, we have Card You Don't Understand. So I picked Wave of Nostalgia, which I mentioned earlier. That is the shaman spell that transforms all minions on the board into random legendary minions from the past. And like, and it's 5 mana, nature spell. So like, I kind of understand why this is made, in that like, it's kind of funny. It's that like random, we could have a high roll thing. It does either you could have if you have like a lot of tokens and then you play this, especially past legendaries tend to be big, although they also tend to be worse overall, but like they tend to be bigger, I think. So if you have a bunch of 1/1s, you're almost certainly making your board better. But also you could be making your opponent's board better. If your opponent has like a Titan, then this is almost certainly going to make it worse. But it's a 5 mana for like, who knows what in the world's going to happen. I mean, I am someone who underestimated Prison by a lot, but like, I don't really know why we're doing this. It doesn't really have a synergy with anything.
But random
silence,
legendaries,
I guess, but you could be getting something worse.
But random legendaries are always good. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, those are... I mean, like, if we are being serious, right? Like, you get a lot of junk minions on the board as a shaman. Like, you get the frogs from Pop-Up Book. You get totems. You get frogs from like the frog weapon in Highlander Shaman, that like the small ones early on. Like you do just sometimes accumulate a bunch of crap on the board that you could upgrade. The real answer is probably because it's a 5 mana spell that get generated from things that say Yogg on it in order to mess up board states. That's probably the real answer.
Why?
That's the real answer.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note of, random mage stuff, I don't understand Dark Moon Magician. Not because, like, I don't get what it does or why they did it or how it's a mage card, but mostly because, like, it's a minion, so it's not going in this archetype that they're trying to support a spell mage. Now, they did give it an amazing 2 mana removal spell. Okay, great. But, like, it just doesn't fit anywhere to me, right? Like, you would have to build around this. There's no present like aggressive cheap spells mage thing going on, and I don't feel like there's really support for that unless I've missed something. So you would have to build around this one card, and it's no Flame Waker. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I don't think so. There's no Sorcerer's Apprentice anymore, so I'm just not seeing it, and I would much rather have had like, just give me a cheap burn spell to use with Sif, or like, I don't know, something to help out Rainbow Mage now that Miracle Salesman is not really able to support that deck very well. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is that Rainbow Mage needs, but it feels like it's lacking something. And maybe the buy one, get one freeze can end up taking that place, but I don't know.
I mean, you could play the snake oils from the Miracle Salesman with this, and then get another spell. Okay.
But they're not 0 anymore, right? Like, you can't even do it on the same turn. That would have been a cool thing, right? Get a couple of
well,
2
now
mana
now it gives
things.
you an actual 2-cost spell instead of 1-cost. Yes.
Like I guess you have to run like Greedy Partner and some other stuff to get immediate value.
Feels like something more that a rogue would want than a mage. Because rogue's just going to generate a whole bunch of crap anyway, and they just want more crap. So
Yeah.
that feels like something a mage would want. And I'm sure they'll get it sometimes, but
I just don't know
Yeah.
what other things you're like. It feels like a bad sharpshooter, right? That you build around it. Your deck doesn't do anything if you don't find it, but also it doesn't win you the game if you do find it.
Wicked, what did you pick as a card you don't understand?
so I picked Whack-A-Null, which is a paladin spell that it is a 1-mana paladin spell that discovers a paladin weapon from the past and gives just what are you looking for? Like, I don't like, again, it seems like something that you would get that you're going to generate for a rogue randomly, because then it's more stuff. But like, there are some pretty bad synergistic weapons. Like, apparently just like Imic did the math. There's like 22 weapons in the pool, and like, they're not all winners. Like, so there's like, some of these really need a lot of synergy, like Light Sorrow. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain +1 attack, which is 4 mana 1/4, right? Or like Sea Cloud Buckler, like 3 mana 2/3, give your minions Divine Shield with Death Rattle, like, or the Death Rattle gives them Divine Shield, and like, you could get a Libram of Judgment that you can't discount. Or
Yeah,
or
the
like
fact that
Feraki
it's not
Battle Axe.
discounted, like, there's some good hits if they were cheaper for current. Like, there's a Silver Sword, a card I do not remember. After your hero attacks, give your minions +1/+1, but it's 8 mana.
And a fair number of these are Death Rattle weapons too, right? That the +1/+1 is an active detriment, because it means that you're gonna have to swing like that many more times before you get the effect.
So I definitely agree that this card kind of feels like filler. But we have seen just how powerful +1/+1 on a weapon can be from the Death Knight Discover one. This is a much bigger pool.
Right.
But I think there's going to be a decent number of weapons where it's just like, yeah, give me a big weapon that I can just hit them with, right? Or a mid-sized weapon that would be bad, but because of the +1/+1, makes it much better. The one thing that makes me feel like, okay, maybe could be worth it is if you have a deck where you want a specific weapon, Painter's Virtue, off of your weapon tutor, you don't really want to run other weapons in that deck to get in the way of that, but you do want to have additional weapons so that you can give your South Sea deckhands charge. And so maybe you run 1 or 2 of these to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably be able to find one decent one out of the 3 choices, but
Right. Yeah.
there are definitely some stinkers in this. Like Faraki Battle Axe. I mean, it's a Rasaka's Rumble card, so of course it was bad, but like 5 mana 3/3 overkill, give a minion.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the next secret and buff paladin tech. Maybe it's just bad.
Maybe, who knows?
But yeah.
All right, so really quickly, the last cards that we did for Card We Don't Understand, I think we kind of... So I picked Wind Up Musician. Edel picked Puzzle Master Khadgar, parentheses, kind of mage in general. And Wicked picked Chalk Artist. I feel like this is an easier category to get right, though.
Yeah. I mean, well, and there's lots of interpretations for how you do this. There's like literally, I don't understand this card, and then there's like, what? This is so bad. Yeah. But anyway,
I mean, Khadgar did see play in a Masters Tour, so
that is true, and no one knew what he was going to do or understood its criteria for picking.
It also did lose that game that he was famously played in. So
I mean, it mostly just didn't win the game, right? It was a Hail Mary.
I will blame the loss on Khadgar. I'm willing.
Sure. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. We have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at CoinConcede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. And write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. And if you like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Kresh, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk with the Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Forgiven One, Grizzly Bear, and Tyler Knife. Coin Concedes.
Well, I am in a Coin Concede to Mad at Arms for taking the time to, in exhaustive detail, help me choose a precon to buy this weekend, and then also invited me to play it without having to go outside into the scary world and face with people in real life, which I may do, but I wasn't ready to do that the first time that I was trying out the deck, and wasn't going to do that for at least another week. So I was glad to get that opportunity to play it. And and he took a lot. He wrote me, he info dumped on me, which as an autistic person, I appreciate when someone info dumps on me, because I know that is a love language. So I appreciated all the help, and yeah, it was fun to get back into that, or to do that, and hopefully doing that without sacrificing my children.
Okay,
so I had mentioned this earlier, but Coin Concede to my AP students who are taking their exams right now. Also Coin Concede to my friend whose username is Lizard13, whose birthday it is on Monday, as well as she's becoming a teacher and going to be awesome at that. And also she got me into Hearthstone, so Coin Concede for getting me into Hearthstone. She doesn't play anymore, sadly, but I give her credit for getting me in way back during BlackRock. I distinctly remember that because I remember that I really liked that board she was playing, and she was like letting the little dragons out of the eggs. And like, honestly, that is probably part of why I'd agreed to start playing the game. I was like, oh, this is so cute. Oh, also, it's really fun.
Well, my Coin Concede is first to Supergiant Games, because I don't know how on earth they took in my mind, perfect roguelike and said, you know what, bet we can make it better. And Hades 2 is just insanely good. And then also Coin Concede to those who provided the feedback that we referenced at the top of the show. It's not always easy to give constructive criticism to particularly like someone you listen to potentially every week, right? On a show like this. And we always appreciate the feedback and anything that can help us get better. So thank you.
So that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and coin pro gamer, lose concede. And if you see us on ladder, Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested him.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.